tous, j'espère que vous allez très bien aujourd'hui. Le voilà, monsieur le lemur. I do think he is a lemur. Definitely not a cute animal, but he popped up on my screen and I thought we would use him. Aujourd'hui, nous allons parler des objets indirects. C'est un commencement. Always remember that whatever is being taught to you is a beginning. And it is never the beginning and end because it requires a good deal of practice. So we are going to talk extensively about indirect object pronouns. However, direct object pronouns are going to come into this as well because we do need to blend those. So let's start with indirect object pronouns are usually preceded by a preposition in French. I'm sorry, the indirect objects, not the pronouns itself, because we're going to replace those objects with the pronouns. But they're usually preceded by a preposition in French and can be found by asking verb to or verb for whom. And I say whom and not what because for our purposes, an indirect object can only be replaced with an indirect object pronoun if it is a person or an animal. So we will touch on this a little bit, well actually a couple more times because I really want to drive this home. So your indirect object when it is a person gets an indirect object pronoun, and if it's not a person it will be something else that we will discuss at a later time. She gives the apple to the teacher. What a great example. Gives to whom? Gives to the teacher. So to the teacher is the indirect object pronoun. This is going to become so intuitive to you as you work with these that you won't need to go through this to find the indirect object pronoun, but it is there if you need it. Okay, so what are those indirect object pronouns? Well, we have your subject pronouns, which are je, tu, il, elle, nous, vous, il, elle. Your indirect object pronouns are me, te, lui, nous, vous, leur. Now, if you remember your direct object pronouns, the me, te, nous, and vous are the same. When it comes to the il-elle form, there's le and la, and the il-elle plural form, there's les. So the good news is, all you have to memorize this time around is lui for the il-elle form, and leur for the il-elle plural form. You are already asking yourself, but wait a minute, how do I tell the difference? Don't worry, we're going to get there. So important, this is our first rappel to what I've already mentioned, that the indirect object pronouns can only be used with people and animals and never with objects. So the example that I gave before, elle a donné la pomme au prof. Au prof is our indirect object. Elle est allée aux Bahamas. Bahamas is not an indirect object. Okay? We cannot replace it with an indirect object pronoun. We'll come back to it. We're going to loop back one more time, okay? The formulation, just like our direct object pronouns, goes before the verb, goes before the conjugated verb. Well, it goes before the verb with which it is associated. 99.9% of the time, what that means is if there is one verb, our conjugated verb, you're going to put it in front of that verb. And if there are two verbs, one's conjugated and one's the infinitive, it's going to go in front of the infinitive. Okay, we do have examples of that. If it's in the passé composé, remember that in the passé composé, the conjugated verb is avoir or être. It's not the past participle. Okay, so just keeping that in mind, follows the exact same rules as the direct object pronouns in terms of placement. Okay, the good thing is that lui and leur are, I have said neutral here. There's no real neuter or neutral in French. Everything is typically masculine or feminine. However, lui replaces both the masculine and the feminine, and leur does the same thing. So there is no concern about trying to figure out if this is masculine or feminine, although when you're talking about people and animals, that tends to be pretty self-explanatory. Les exemples. Elle parle aux élèves. She's speaking to the students. The prepositions pour and avec will often take other types of pronouns. You can say elle parle avec la dame, elle parle avec elle, but you can also say elle lui parle. So if you've seen elle parle avec elle or elle achète un cadeau pour lui, don't worry about that right now, okay? Know that you can do it both ways. So, elle parle aux élèves. She speaks to the students. So we have a plural. Okay, it's not me, she's not speaking to me, she's not speaking to you, she's not speaking to us, or you plural. So it's got to be either lui or leur. And because it's plural, it has to be leur. So, elle parle aux élèves becomes she to them speaks. Elle leur parle. Il écrit à moi. He to me writes. So, il m'écrit. Nous achetons une jupe pour maman. We, for her, buy a skirt. Nous lui achetons une jupe. Vous donnez les papiers à la bibliothécaire. La bibliothèque is a library. La bibliothécaire is the librarian. It does not matter if it's masculine or feminine. Yes, there is a masculine form. Au bibliothécaire, for instance, it would be au because it'd be a and le, so it'd be au. But it doesn't matter because with indirect objects, we don't care about the gender. So vous, you, to her, give the papers. Vous lui donnez les papiers. All right, we have plenty more coming. Pratique. Elle rend le livre à la dame. Rendre and donner have some similarities, and that donner is to give, and rendre is more like to give back. Okay, so you wouldn't say je donne le livre à la bibliothécaire, je rends le livre, assuming that you borrowed the book. I mean, if you were donating, it might be something different. So, elle rend le livre à la dame. We see à is our preposition. So, à la dame. There's our preposition. There's our indirect object pronoun. Is a female. So, we would say she to her gives back the book, which would be elle lui rend le livre. All right, nous finissons parler aux deux messieurs. Notice that I have two verbs here. Okay, so the question is, it says we finish speaking to the two gentlemen. Okay, you're not saying we are finishing the two gentlemen, so it can't go in front of finish. We're finishing speaking to them, so it's got to go in front of speaking. Okay. So we, and this would be an awkward way of saying it, but we finish to them to speak, okay? So, did you guess it? Nous finissons leur parler. Ils achètent un cadeau pour leur grand-mère. Now be careful because leur here means their grandmother. Okay, I know that leur is now one of our indirect object pronouns, but it's not replacing anything, so it's not a pronoun. And you're not going to look at leur and just plop it into that spot necessarily. Okay, you may, but not in this case, because it's one person. Ils achètent un cadeau pour leur grand-mère. We can say pour elle, but we're going to say for her. So they, for her, buy a gift. So it's her, lui. Il lui achète un cadeau. Okay? Notes to consider with objects. This is our troisième rappel. Indirect object pronouns are used only with people and animals, never objects. I know it's the third time I said it, troisième rappel, but it bears repeating, okay? Example. Elle parle avec la dame, elle lui parle. But elle fait attention à la télé. La télé is not a person. Elle y fait attention. You wouldn't say lui, because télé is not a person or an animal. Now, there's another little thing with the direct object pronouns that I don't think that we touched on yet, but it's just, little by little. So they are only used to replace your definite article le, la, and les. They don't replace anything that starts with an indefinite article, which is un, une, or du, or de, du, de la, de elle apostrophe, whatever. Anything a derivative of de plus an article. Okay, and don't worry because we're going to get to that, but I just want you to be aware of it. It'll be out there in space. So, il donne la tarte à la femme, il la donne à la femme. Okay, but il mange de la pizza, he eats some pizza would be il en mange. It's super easy. The e and the on are actually super, super, super easy. Of all the pronouns, they're the easiest. It's just that we've saved them until last. So there you are out there in space. Good news for indirect objects. There is no past agreement with indirect object pronouns in the passé composé. So if we say je donne les lettres aux dames, je leur ai donné les lettres, we have no agreement. As a reminder, you do have agreement with the direct object pronouns. So ils visitent les cathédrales would become ils les ont visitées. And you see we have the E because cathédrale is feminine and the S because in this case it is plural. So that's just a quick reminder. Never hurts to be reminded, right? Let's talk really quickly about double objects, and I'm going to give you some exercises with that. Double objects exist in French just like English. So if we have the wonderful example, I give the apple to the teacher, we have two objects. I give it, the apple, to him. The teacher could be to her. It doesn't really matter because to the teacher would be an indirect object. And so it wouldn't matter about the gender, but professeur is always masculine in French. There is some argument right now, and certain countries have adopted different feminine forms, but that really does go out of the scope of this class, and so just be aware it is out there if ever you see it. But in France, it doesn't exist. So, je donne la pomme au professeur. We don't know if professeur is masculine or feminine. Or, I'm sorry, we know it's masculine as the word is masculine. We don't know if the teacher is male or female, and we don't care because it's an indirect object pronoun. So I give the apple to the teacher is going to be I it to him give, or I it to her give. And that's going to be je le lui donne. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about that here. Here's a great chart for us. You only care about first, second, and third at this point. And this is the direction that your double objects are going to go in. The me, te, nous, vous goes first. We don't care if it's direct or indirect, but they go first. Okay? The second, le, la, and les. And the third is going to be lui and leur. Okay? So this actually is quite simple in that you think about all of those easy the ones that are the same in the direct and indirect objects, they're going to go first, and then your direct objects, which you learned first, will be second, and then the new ones are third. Okay, so it doesn't really matter. You don't have to think, wait a minute, is this a direct object or an indirect object? You don't have to think about it. Okay, you just plop it in depending on the graph. Okay, so let's take a look at what this actually means in a practice. Je cherche la gare. Now here we have what? Direct or indirect? Direct. Okay, so la gare, feminine. it am looking for. Je la cherche. Tu parles français à la dame. À la dame is a preposition, and then we have a noun. So to the woman, okay. I to her speak French. So what are we going to replace it with? Lui. Tu lui parles français. All right, our next one. Il donne le cadeau à son père. Here we have two. He gives the gift to his father. So he gives it to him is what we would say. They would say it to him gives. Have you guessed it? Il le lui donne. All right. Nous achetons le gâteau pour ma mère. So we give the cake, we buy the cake for my mother. All right. It for her buy. We have two here. All right. Guessed it? Nous le lui achetons. Vous finissez le travail. We only have one object here. Is it indirect or is it direct object? Direct, correct. So it would be vous le finissez. Now for our last one, you can do one. We have an extra indirect object one out there, but this has two objects, so we'll do both. Okay, so elle rend le livre à son ami. So they give back the book to her friend. So it's a real intricate sentence here, so because they're giving it to her friend or they're giving it to his friend. Friend is definitely feminine. That doesn't matter. So elle rend le livre à son ami. So it to her give, or they to her give the book. So I gave you two options. Elles lui rendent le livre, or elles le lui rendent. So I want to give you some repetition practice because this is the only way you're going to master these is repetition. The first thing that I recommend is taking two simple verbs, not any more than that. Donner and rendre are wonderful verbs to practice this with because they can take your direct and indirect object pronouns. So you can really practice the double pronouns. So pick maybe 4 vocabulary words. If you want to just practice the direct object pronouns, pick 3. If you want to practice just the indirect object pronouns, pick 3. If you want to practice both of them, pick 6. Okay? And it just depends. But pick them and make it as easy as possible. What you want is the repetition, not necessarily exposure to additional vocabulary. I have picked verbs that you already know. Donner, to give, rendre, to give back. And then we've got real simple vocab that you know. La table, les papiers, le travail, le frère, la mère, les élèves. Making sure you're using that definite article. So, je donne la table à mon frère is what you would start with. Je la lui donne. Je rends les papiers à ma mère. Je les lui rends. Je donne le travail aux élèves. Je le leur donne. So I can't do this for you. You're going to have to make the effort to do it. I recommend that you do it daily. I recommend you do it as often as possible when it pops in your head, which is why I suggest that you use the minimum amount of vocabulary and the easiest sentences. I used je. You don't care because it's the same structure with any pronoun that you use. So make it all about yourself, it's fine. Then day two, pick something else. Pick elle, pick il, pick nous, whatever you want. And just practice, practice, practice. Ok, merci beaucoup, c'est la fin pour aujourd'hui. Et laissez-moi savoir si vous avez des questions. Au revoir.